clarification.
Yes.
Mr. Pilkey said that you'd agreed to let that video be shown, but that's only if you preview it first.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
I see.
And I responded Friday within 15 minutes of receiving the email, and
I get that. It's just that you don't preview our comments before we got up, so I was just curious. Thank you.
No, but I think we have an obligation. You know, this kind of thing kind of sets a precedent, and who knows who might come along and try and present something here. And I think we have an obligation to assure ourselves that there's some kind of objectionable material in there.
Plus the time it takes to preload all this information. We couldn't, if we took the time for everybody that came up to try and load something, we would be here all night with people trying to load and get different DVDs to work. It's a challenge. It's a electronic challenge. Your last one didn't work, so you can shake your head.
I'm not shaking my
head. No, the person behind you is.
Oh, well, yeah.
Now, you may have a right to allow public comment or not allow public comment at your meetings. I think that's, frankly, a state law that should be changed or a law that should be put in place. But once you allow public comment, I don't believe that you have the right to edit that comment, either before, during, or after. And that's why your offer is not. You can't make those kind of allegations because I never edited anything. I didn't see anything. So I don't know how you can make that allegation that was any editing done. So I didn't say
Walt,
I didn't say there was any editing done, Paul. I said you don't have the right to preview my material before I present it.
Well, if you want to get hung up on that, rather than being able to present your...
If I have to get hung up on anything, the First Amendment will do just fine.
That was just a little more than 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was. It was. Well, part of it's my fault, so... the other half was my 3 minutes. Okay. Dan Roy.
Good evening, Commissioners. I guess the way what I'd like to start with is regarding this issue of our showing the video is I think it would have been tempting for those citizens who've put this video together to have complied with your request. I think that we would have been able to show the video, and it would have been much easier. But I think there's a principle here, and it was too important a principle, Commissioners, for us to forget. And you know, we hear a lot about those who are dying today in Iraq to protect our democracy and our First Amendment rights. And more there's a sense in America that those rights are being eroded. And you know, I speak from the heart. I don't have prepared notes. I was planning on our showing the video tonight. But I think that when we learned, and we thought about it, we thought about your email, and we thought about those words that the public is not in the same category as the staff. We're the public here. We're the people. We're the ones that pay the taxes for the port. and we're concerned about our port, about our community, about my grandchild, and about the environment, and about some of the policies that the port has followed. And so for us to ask to be able to show something, but that had to be previewed. You don't know what I'm going to say, and thank God we have a Constitution that I can say freely what I'm saying to you. Yeah, but you're saying to us, and you had to ask Walt, what are you trying to hide? We're not trying to hide anything. You know, I was an administrator at a university for 35 years in a high-level position. I'm not going to show something that would be inappropriate or pornographic or something like that. But I don't think that the commissioners need to review something prior to, much like previewing our comments in advance. And so we stuck to principle. That's why we're not showing the video. We didn't show you the video in advance. And the audacity for you, Mr. Venchul, to say that somehow it takes all this time. If you've shown any CDs in your home, and I'm sure you have, or videos. It goes in the machine, it goes out of the machine. And this group put together a VCR and a CD to make sure that there wouldn't be any problems. They've done a lot of work. They're engaged citizens who care about this community. And it's about time that some people speak up about it, because we care about the community, and we're citizens that have a right to communicate our thoughts and our concerns. And we're not a small group, we're a large group, and we represent the community that feel this way. Thank you very much.
And it close, maybe, sort of? All right. A citizens group, the Friend of Rocky Prairie, has learned a great deal about the site near Maytown that's being considered for the Port of Tacoma and the Port of Olympia's logistics center / intermodal transportation facility / manufacturing center / rail switching yard. And after speaking with many scientists, we thought it was important that you hear their opinions before deciding that this site is viable. We felt, and we still do feel, in fact, that we could prove it is a totally inappropriate site for such a venture. So to that end, we set up a tour of the area to present information from the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife, the State Department of Fish and Wildlife biologists, a toxicologist, a state parks representative, and so on. And we invited several public officials, including, of course, the Olympia and Tacoma Port Commissioners. Both groups, in nearly identical letters, refused our invitations, citing a few reasons that could easily have been dealt with, and I'd be happy to address them later. But the key point seemed to be that a tour wouldn't be needed if the site weren't selected, I guess. But if it were determined to be the preferred site, then you'd be glad to set up a tour and hear our concerns. We responded in part as follows. While we realize that no definitive decision has been made concerning the final location of the SSLC, we believe it is crucial that you hear the information to be presented before the ports make a decision as to whether this site is appropriate or not. As elected officials, it is your responsibility to consider all the implications of choosing a site before you choose it, not after, as indicated in your letter. It's kind of a no-brainer. Is there anyone here dumb enough to, say, buy a house, close the entire deal, and then say, hey, think I'll have that inspection now? No. Obviously, you get it the other way around. You do the inspection. We all know it works that way, and why should this be any different? We have important evidence that needs to be considered before you choose the site, not after. Yet not one port commissioner showed up. You sent your public relations consultant instead. Is it any wonder that people become more and more cynical about public officials and whether they care at all about their constituents? I don't think it is, and I think you guys need to consider this. And just for the record, the only response we received from our request that you reconsider your declination was an inadvertent one, an email not meant for us, but for your staff. And it does raise an interesting question. Who drives port policy, the staff who are not elected officials or the commissioners who are? Because the email requested a staffer to tell him the best way to handle a reply to our reissued invitation. Of course, in the end, we received no reply at all. Thank you.
The footsteps of the ancient people echoing so near. The bending of the bitter cherry shelter black-tailed deer. Eagles soaring overhead while bluebirds sweep the trees. Will children's hearts know these? Will western prairies still beat? It's up to you and me. We'll say a prayer for Rocky Prairie, for creatures great and small. 'Cause with the wild lands disappearing, we'll heed the truth, we'll hear the call. Preservation for it all.